Rich daughter-in-law kicks elderly mother-in-law out of mansion. 8 years later, discovers mother-in-law is the new owner of husband's empire under the dazzling California sun. The opulent ballroom of the Santa Monica Yacht Club shimmered with elegance as guests swirled about in a kaleidoscope of designer dresses and tailored suits. The air was perfumed with expensive colognes and the faint scent of fresh flowers, arranged meticulously on every table. Nora Lindholm stood at the center of it all, a radiant figure in a floor-length crimson gown that hugged her curves perfectly, her long dark hair cascading in soft waves down her back. She wore a smile that could charm anyone, yet her eyes betrayed a flicker of discontent as she navigated the sea of high society. "Look at her," whispered a woman in a sequined dress to her companion, gesturing discreetly toward Nora. Nora Lindholm is the envy of every woman here. She has it all: wealth, beauty, even a charming husband. "True," the companion replied, glancing at Ethan, who was busy chatting with a group of businessmen. "But something seems off. You can see it in her eyes." As Nora smiled and laughed at the right moments, her mind drifted elsewhere. She felt like an actress in a play, performing for an audience that expected her to be the perfect wife and socialite. The truth was, beneath the glamorous facade, she felt a growing dissatisfaction gnawing at her insides. The whispers of envy from her peers only amplified her unease. Was this truly what success meant? "Hey, Nora!" called out Clara, a friend from college, weaving through the crowd. With her short bob and casual confidence, Clara was a refreshing contrast to the glittering elite. "You look stunning, as always, but I can't help but feel there's something on your mind." Nora turned, forcing a bright smile. "Oh, Clara, thank you. Just the usual, you know? Juggling the kids, the house, and of course, these events. It's a lot sometimes." She waved her hand dismissively, but her heart wasn't in it. Clara raised an eyebrow, sensing Nora's tension. "You're doing an amazing job, but don't forget to take care of yourself too, all right? You can't pour from an empty cup." Nora nodded absent-mindedly, her gaze drifting towards Ethan, who was now laughing heartily at something one of the men had said. A warm sense of pride mixed with a twinge of resentment washed over her. He was so at ease in this world, while she felt like a pretender. As the evening wore on, Nora's thoughts shifted to Althea, her mother-in-law. The old woman had come to live with them last year, and while Nora had initially welcomed her into their home, she now found Althea's presence suffocating. Althea's stories of her past, her wisdom, and her relentless spirit seemed to clash with Nora's carefully curated life. In a moment of reflection, Nora remembered the first time Althea visited their home. It had been a bright afternoon, and she had prepared an elaborate lunch, determined to impress her future mother-in-law. Nora had put on a brave face, but as she set the table, she could feel the weight of Althea's gaze, assessing her every move. "Ethan, can you help me with the wine?" she had called out, her voice strained. "Sure, babe," he replied, rushing back from the kitchen. "I think we have that nice red you love." Althea had smiled gently, but there was a glimmer of something in her eyes: disapproval? Concern? Nora brushed it off as she poured the wine, trying to focus on the meal, the ambience, and the joy of family. "Thank you for having me, dear," Althea had said as they sat down. "This is lovely. It reminds me of the dinners we used to have when Ethan was a boy." "Really? What did you make?" Nora had asked, genuinely curious. "Oh, simple things. Just a good roast, fresh vegetables from the garden, and time spent together. Those were the days," Althea replied wistfully. Nora had nodded, but inside, she felt her irritation rising. Yet, she decided, focusing back on her work. The time would come when she would reach out, but for now, she needed to prove to herself that she was stronger than the shadows of her past. With renewed determination, Althea dove into her work, her heart full of dreams, and her spirit ready to embrace whatever lay ahead. Nora stood in the living room of her sprawling Santa Monica mansion, her eyes darting nervously from the window to her children playing outside. The sun glinted off the Pacific Ocean, the waves crashing rhythmically against the shore, but inside her, a tempest brewed. She had always prided herself on being the perfect mother, the ultimate hostess, but today the weight of her choices bore down on her like an anchor. Her mind replayed the moments leading up to Althea's departure, her mother-in-law's timid voice, the way she tried to share her wisdom, only to be met with Nora's dismissive glare. The memory stung, a reminder of the confrontation that had shattered the fragile peace of their home. "She's just a burden," Nora had told Ethan, her voice sharp as glass. But now, as she watched her children giggle and chase each other, the realization hit her. The absence of their grandmother was a void that echoed through their laughter. "Mama," called Lily, her youngest, bursting through the back door with a bright smile. "Can we have ice cream?" "Of course, sweetie," Nora replied, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. As she walked into the kitchen, the vibrant colors of her children's artwork plastered across the fridge caught her attention. Each drawing, each scribble was a reminder of the family they used to be, whole, connected, and free of the tension that now loomed over them like dark clouds. As she scooped ice cream into bowls, Ethan entered the room, his brow furrowed with concern. "Nora, we need to talk about Althea." "Not now, Ethan," she snapped, the spoon in her hand trembling slightly. "I'm busy." "Busy avoiding the conversation?" he countered gently, leaning against the counter. "Our kids miss her. They don't understand why she's gone." Nora felt a pang of guilt at his words. "They'll get over it. They have us." "Isn't that enough?" Ethan sighed, running a hand through his hair, a gesture of exasperation she had grown all too familiar with. "It's not just about us. They need their family, Nora. And Althea is family." "Family?" Nora scoffed, disbelief lacing her tone. "You mean the same family that I had to kick out because she wouldn't stop meddling?" Ethan stepped closer, his expression softening. "She was trying to help. She cares about you, about the kids." "I think you're making a mistake." Nora bit her lip, frustration bubbling beneath the surface. "I can't keep pretending to be someone I'm not. I'm tired of her constant reminders of what I should be. I want to create my own legacy, not live in her shadow." Ethan crossed his arms, a frown deepening on his face. "And what kind of legacy do you think that is? One built on resentment and isolation? You're pushing everyone away, including me." For a moment, Nora felt the walls closing in on her. "I don't need this right now, Ethan. I have enough on my plate." He shook his head, disappointment evident in his eyes. "You're making a choice, Nora. A choice that could affect our children for the rest of their lives." With that, he turned and left the room. Nora stood frozen, the weight of his words anchoring her to the spot. She knew he was right. The children were growing distant, their innocent minds struggling to comprehend the rift between their mother and grandmother. Just yesterday, during dinner, Jasper had asked, "Why can't we see Grandma Althea anymore?" His tiny face had crumpled in confusion, and Nora had felt her heart shatter a little more. Later that evening, after the kids were tucked into bed, Nora sat in the darkened living room, the only light coming from the flickering flames of the fireplace. She wrapped her arms around her knees, lost in thought. The silence of the house felt oppressive, a stark contrast to the vibrant life that had once filled their home. She picked up her phone, scrolling through her contacts until she found Clara's name. Clara had been her friend for years, always a voice of reason when the chaos of life threatened to overwhelm her. With a deep breath, she dialed a number. It rang twice before Clara picked up. "Nora, is everything okay?" "Not really," Nora admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. I need to talk." "Of course. What's going on?" Clara's tone was immediate and concerned, as if she could sense the turmoil in Nora's heart. "It's about Althea. I thought I was doing the right thing by asking her to leave, but I don't know anymore." "Nora," Clara began gently, "do you remember the woman you used to admire? The one who built her life from nothing and was a pillar for so many people? That's still Althea, you know. But she's so old-fashioned, Nora interjected, frustration creeping into her voice. I just wanted to create my own path, to be my own woman. By pushing away the people who care about you, Clara asked pointedly, I know you want to be independent, but family is not a burden, Nora. It's support. It's love. Think about the kids. They'll grow up and remember this. Nora clenched her jaw, the truth of Clara's words stinging. But I was right to want my space. She was always hovering, judging my decisions. Was she judging, or was she trying to guide you? Clara countered. Maybe it's time to reflect on what you really want. Is it pride that's keeping you from reaching out, or is it fear? Nora sat back, the weight of the question hanging in the air. The truth was, she was afraid of acknowledging her mistakes, afraid of reaching out and being rejected. I don't know, Clara. I feel so lost. Maybe it's time to find your way back, Clara suggested softly. Apologizing doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're willing to grow. After hanging up, Nora felt a flicker of hope, but it was quickly overshadowed by doubt. She needed to face Althea, to confront the hurt she had caused, but the thought of doing so was paralyzing. What if Althea refused to forgive her? What if she didn't want to reconcile? The next morning, the sun streamed through the windows, illuminating the kitchen where Nora stood, contemplating her next move. She glanced at the drawings on the fridge again, her children's innocent smiles staring back at her like a mirror reflecting her own failures. Taking a deep breath, she decided it was time to confront her pride. Hey, kiddos, she called out, her voice brightening as she turned toward the living room. Do you want to help me bake cookies? Yay! Jasper shouted, racing into the kitchen, followed closely by Lily. Their excitement was infectious, and as they gathered around the counter, Nora felt a warmth spreading through her chest. As they mixed the ingredients, laughter filled the air. Nora watched her children, their faces smeared with flour and chocolate, and realized she needed to do this not just for herself but for them. They deserved to have their family whole again. Okay, how about we make a special batch for Grandma Althea? She suggested casually, testing the waters. Can we? Lily asked, her eyes wide with excitement. I miss her cookies. Jasper nodded fervently. Yeah, she always makes the best ones. Nora felt a pang in her heart, a reminder of all the joy Althea had brought into their lives. Then let's do it, she said, determination bubbling within her. Let's make the best cookies ever, and we'll take them to her. The kitchen was a flurry of activity, and with each laugh and each mess they made, Nora felt the weight of her decision lighten. She was taking a step toward reconciliation, not just for herself, but for her children, for the family she had almost destroyed. As they pulled the cookies from the oven, forward, you're both strong women, and the world needs to see that strength together, not divided. The conversation shifted as Althea shared details about her startup, her passion igniting as she spoke of her team and the innovative projects they were developing. We're working on a new app that connects local businesses with consumers in a more meaningful way, she explained, her eyes lighting up. It's about building community, Ethan. I want to create something that matters, something that can help people. Ethan couldn't help but admire his mother's resilience. That sounds amazing, Mom. You've always had the ability to see what others can't. Yes, but it hasn't always been easy, Althea replied, her tone shifting. I faced my fair share of setbacks, including betrayal from someone I trusted. It taught me that strength isn't just about success. It's also about vulnerability and being open to change. What do you mean? Ethan asked, intrigued. There was a time when I put all my faith in a business partner, someone I thought was a friend. They betrayed me, left me in a precarious position. But instead of giving up, I learned to lean on others, to build a team that truly believes in the vision. She paused, looking out the window, her gaze distant. It was a painful lesson, but it made me who I am today. Ethan leaned back in his chair, absorbing her words. I had no idea, Mom. It sounds like you really turned things around. I had to. Life doesn't wait for us to be ready, Althea replied. Just like Nora, I had my dreams, my ambitions. But I learned that they mean little if they come at the expense of family. Maybe you can help her see that, he said again, feeling the urgency of the moment. Maybe together you can create something beautiful. Althea nodded slowly, a look of determination crossing her face. I'll consider it, Ethan, but it's going to take more than just a conversation. She needs to be willing to let her guard down. Maybe I can help her with that, he offered, a plan forming in his mind. If I can get her to see your side, maybe she'll be more open to reconciliation. Just remember, Althea cautioned, this isn't just about mending fences. It's about building a bridge that lasts. Both of you need to be ready for that. Ethan's heart raced at the thought. I'll do my best, Mom. I want us to be a family again. As they finished their coffee, Ethan felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps the rift between Nora and Althea could be healed, but it would require effort, understanding, and above all, a willingness to forgive. Later that evening, back at home, Ethan found Nora in the living room, scrolling through her phone, a frown creasing her brow. He could sense the tension in the air, a palpable reminder of the unresolved conflict that loomed over them. Nora, he said gently, taking a seat beside her, can we talk? She looked up, her expression guarded. About what? More about how I should have handled things differently with my mother-in-law. No, he replied, trying to keep his tone calm. It's about Althea. I met with her today. Her eyes widened, surprise mingling with irritation. Ethan, I don't want to discuss her. She's not a part of our lives anymore. Isn't she? He countered, frustration creeping into his voice. She's the grandmother of our children, and she deserves a chance to be in their lives. She's doing remarkable things, Nora. She's built a startup and she's thriving. Nora's expression hardened. I don't care about her business. It's not about that, Ethan. It's about how she treated me. Ethan took a deep breath, trying to remain patient. I understand that, but what you did to her was harsh. She's still your husband's mother. She's still family. Nora shook her head, her voice rising. Family? You think I'm just supposed to forget the way she undermined me? The way she looked at me like I was some kind of fool? No, but it's time to move past that, he said. Firmly, you need to realize that holding on to this anger is only hurting you. It's affecting our kids, and it's affecting us. Nora fell silent, her gaze dropping to the floor. Ethan could see the conflict in her eyes, the struggle between pride and the longing for connection. Ethan, she began, but her voice faltered. Just think about it, he urged, reaching for her hand. What if you could open a dialogue with her? I believe she wants to reconnect, to support you, to be a part of our family again. She met his gaze, uncertainty flickering across her features. I don't know if I can do that. Start small. Just think of the kids, Nora. They deserve to know their grandmother. And you deserve to find peace, he said, hoping to spark something within her. Nora looked away, her mind racing. The idea of reconciling with Althea seemed daunting, but Ethan's words resonated deeply. Perhaps it was time to let go of the past and embrace the possibility of healing. Okay, she finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. I'll think about it. Ethan felt a surge of relief wash over him. That's all I'm asking for, Nora. Just think about it. As they sat in the dimly lit room, the shadows of their past still loomed large, but the flicker of hope for a brighter future began to ignite within them, a promise of reconciliation and the healing that came from understanding. The grand ballroom of the Santa Monica Hotel sparkled with the opulence of wealth and ambition, the chandeliers casting a warm glow over the polished marble floor. Guests mingled in their designer attire, laughter and clinking glasses harmonizing with the soft notes of a string quartet. Nora Lindholm stood near the entrance, her eyes scanning the room, but her heart felt a heavy weight. She smoothed the fabric of her elegant gown, a striking red that clung to her figure, But even the most exquisite dress couldn't mask the turmoil within her. In the midst of the festivities, Althea Lindholm, her estranged mother-in-law, approached the podium with a quiet grace. The crowd hushed, drawn to the woman whose presence had been a source of tension and conflict in Nora's life. Althea, now a vision of confidence, exuded a warmth that contrasted sharply with the coolness Nora had displayed towards her. The elderly woman took a deep breath, her silver hair glistening under the lights, and began to speak. "Good evening, everyone." Althea's voice resonated through the room, rich and full of emotion. "I stand before you tonight not just as a mother, but as a woman who has learned that family is the most precious legacy we can leave behind." Nora clenched her jaw, her heart pounding as she tried to suppress the feelings of resentment that bubbled to the surface. She felt the piercing gazes of the attendees, and she knew they were judging her, comparing her to the woman who had once been a mere shadow in her life. Althea continued, her words weaving a tapestry of strength and vulnerability. "Life has its challenges, and so often we are faced with choices that define us. I made mistakes, and I've learned from them. But in those mistakes, I found my strength. I learned that forgiveness is not just a gift we give to others, but also to ourselves." Nora felt a pang in her chest. Was Althea speaking to her? The memories of their last heated encounter flooded her mind. She recalled the harsh words exchanged, the way Althea had looked at her with disappointment and hurt. The hurtful dismissal she had forced upon the woman who had once been a figure of wisdom in her life now felt like a heavy shackle. She turned her gaze away from the podium, focusing instead on the swirling patterns of the carpet beneath her feet. Althea continued, her voice steady and clear. "It is never too late to mend what has been broken. We must reach out, even when it feels impossible. Family is a bond that should not be severed, but cherished." The audience was moved, many nodding in agreement. As she prepared to speak, "Althea, she started, her voice faltering. "I've been thinking about everything that's happened, and I realize now that I was wrong to push you away." Althea's expression softened, but she remained composed. "Nora, it's not easy to admit when we're wrong. I understand that. I've been so focused on my own ambitions and insecurities that I forgot the importance of family," Nora continued, her voice trembling. "I see now how my actions affected you and our children. I'm sorry." A flicker of surprise crossed Althea's face, followed by a warmth that melted the tension in the air. "Thank you for saying that, Nora. It means a lot to me. I've been envious of your strength, Althea," Nora confessed, her eyes welling with unshed tears. "You've built a life, a legacy that I've only begun to grasp. I want to learn from you, not push you away." Althea's gaze softened even further, and she stepped closer. "We all have our struggles, Nora. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to want to learn. Family should be our greatest support." Nora felt a wave of relief wash over her, the weight of her pride lifting as she opened herself to vulnerability. "Can we start over? Can we find a way to work together?" Althea smiled, her eyes sparkling with a mixture of hope and understanding. "I would like that very much." In that moment, amidst the glittering lights and the echoes of laughter, a fragile bridge began to form between them, built on the foundations of forgiveness and the desire for connection. Nora realized that perhaps the true legacy she sought was not just in her career or social standing, but in the relationships she nurtured and the love she fostered within her family. Nora sat in the dim light of her home office, the glow from her computer screen casting shadows across her face. She had spent the last few hours scrolling through social media, admiring the glamorous lives of her friends and acquaintances. Yet, despite the polished images of success and happiness, a gnawing emptiness settled in her stomach. The absence of Althea felt like a gaping hole in her life, one she had thought would be filled with more parties, more laughter, and more accolades. Instead, it echoed with silence and regret. As she leaned back in her chair, Nora's mind drifted to her childhood. Memories flooded her thoughts, her mother's warm hugs after a scraped knee, the smell of cookies baking in the oven, and the sound of laughter shared over family dinners. But alongside those sweet memories lurked moments of tension and disappointment, where she felt unseen and unheard. She remembered her father's stern voice, reminding her to be better, to strive harder. "You'll never get anywhere without ambition, Nora," he would say. "You have to fight for what you want." With a sigh, she opened a dusty box tucked away in the corner of her office, a box filled with remnants of her past. As she sifted through photographs and trinkets, one image caught her eye. A picture of her and Althea, taken during a family gathering just before the rift. They were both smiling, the sunlight catching the golden strands of Althea's hair, making her look almost ethereal. Nora remembered that day vividly. Althea had shared stories of her youth, her adventures in business, and her unwavering love for her family. Yet, in her ambition to climb higher in the social ladder, Nora had dismissed those tales as mere nostalgia. Suddenly, the doorbell chimed through the stillness, pulling Nora from her reverie. She hesitated for a moment, her heart racing as she stood up to answer it. Perhaps it was a delivery, or one of her friends stopping by unannounced. But when she opened the door, she was greeted by a familiar face she hadn't seen in years. Lily, her childhood friend. "Nora," Lily exclaimed, her voice warm and inviting. "It's been ages." Nora stepped aside, allowing Lily to enter. "It really has. I can't believe you're here. How have you been?" They embraced, and Nora felt a rush of warmth that had been missing from her life lately. As they settled into the living room, Nora couldn't help but notice how carefree and joyful Lily seemed, a stark contrast to the burden of anxiety that Nora felt. "I've been well. Just moved back to Santa Monica after a few years in New York," Lily said, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "I miss the beach and the sunshine. What about you? How's life treating you?" Nora hesitated, her mind racing with all the things she wanted to say. "Well, you know how it is. Busy with work and the kids. Ethan is, well, he's great as always." She forced a smile, but Lily's eyes narrowed, sensing the underlying tension. "Busy? Or just overwhelmed?" Lily asked gently, tilting her head. "I remember you always wanted to be a leader, to make a name for yourself. But it seems like you're carrying a lot on your shoulders." Nora felt a sting at the observation. "I guess I've just been trying to manage everything. My career, the kids," and she paused, the weight of regret heavy in the air. "And my relationship with Althea hasn't been the best." Lily raised an eyebrow. "Althea? Your mother-in-law?" Nora nodded, her voice barely above a whisper. "I thought getting rid of her would make things easier, but I miss her. I didn't realize how much I needed her presence until she was gone." Lily's expression softened. "Have you thought about reaching out to her? Sometimes we let pride get in the way of what really matters. Family is everything, Nora." "I know, but it's complicated. I feel like I shouldn't have to be the one to apologize," Nora admitted, frustration bubbling to the surface. "She's the one who always meddled in our lives. She never respected my decisions." Lily leaned forward, her voice earnest. "But have you ever thought that maybe her intentions were never to undermine you? Perhaps she just wanted to help. Sometimes, the people we push away are the ones who see our potential the clearest." Nora bit her lip, processing Lily's words. "I don't know, Lily. I was so focused on my own ambitions that I didn't stop to consider hers. I've been so wrapped up in this image of success that I lost sight of what truly matters. Maybe it's time to redefine what success means to you," Lily suggested gently. "It could be about building relationships rather than just climbing the ladder. Think about it." As they talked, Nora couldn't shake the feeling that Lily was right. She had been so consumed with the idea of perfection that she had neglected the messy, beautiful reality of family connections. After a while, Lily shifted the conversation. "So, what's next for you? What are you going to do about Althea?" "I don't know," Nora replied, feeling a mix of fear and hope. "I think I need to take a step back and figure things out. Maybe I need to reach out and apologize." Lily smiled encouragingly. "That sounds like a great start. Remember, it's never too late to mend ties. You have the power to change the narrative." Nora felt a spark of determination ignite within her. "You're right. I can't keep living in this bubble of pride. I have to make things right." As they spoke, the sun began to set, casting a warm golden hue across the room. The shadows that once felt so heavy began to lift, leaving behind a sense of clarity. Nora realized that the journey toward forgiveness and understanding was just beginning, and she felt grateful to have Lily by her side, reminding her of the importance of empathy and connection. Later that evening, after Lily had left, Nora stood before her mirror, staring at her reflection. The woman looking back at her was one she barely recognized, overworked, stressed, and burdened by her choices. But beneath that surface lay a flicker of hope and a desire for change. She needed to reconnect not only with Althea but with herself. With newfound resolve, Nora pulled out a piece of paper and began to write. The words flowed easily, a stream of consciousness spilling onto the page as she listed her reasons for reaching out to Althea. 1. I miss her stories and wisdom. 2. My children need to know their grandmother. 3. I want to understand her better. 4. I want to apologize for my arrogance. 5. Family is worth fighting for. As she penned the last line, a sense of peace washed over her. For the first time in a long while, she felt as if she was taking control of her life instead of letting circumstances dictate her actions. Nora folded the paper and placed it in her pocket, a tangible reminder of her commitment to change. She would reach out to Althea, not just to mend their relationship, but to reclaim the parts of herself she had lost along the way. With a deep breath, she made her way to the living room, the weight of uncertainty still present but now accompanied by a sense of purpose. It was time to let go of the past and open her heart to new possibilities. The legacy she wanted to build could only flourish through understanding, forgiveness, and love. Nora stood outside Althea's new company, her heart pounding in her chest. The sleek glass building towered above her, reflecting the late afternoon sun, and for a moment, she hesitated. Memories of their last confrontation flooded her mind, the harsh words exchanged. The pain etched on Althea's face when she had decided to expel her from their home. Nora had thought that in doing so, she was reclaiming her life, but now, standing here, she felt the weight of her decisions pressing down on her. Taking a deep breath, she adjusted her blazer, smoothing the fabric down her sides. Today was about more than just an apology. It was about rebuilding what had been broken, about confronting the ghost that had haunted her since she had made that rash decision. She stepped forward, her heels clicking against the polished floor as she entered the lobby. The interior was bright and inviting, filled with the hum of activity and the soft murmur of young professionals discussing projects. Nora felt a pang of envy as she noticed the camaraderie among the team members, a stark contrast to the isolation she had felt in her own home since Althea's departure. She approached the receptionist, her voice steady despite her nerves. "Hi, I'm here to see Althea Lindholm," she said, forcing a smile. The receptionist looked up, her expression neutral. "Do you have an appointment?" Nora shook her head, anxiety creeping in. "No, but it's important. She's my mother-in-law." The receptionist raised an eyebrow but nodded, picking up the phone. After a brief conversation, she hung up and motioned for Nora to take a seat. "Please wait. I'll let her know you're here." Nora sat, her fingers tapping nervously against the arm of the chair. She had rehearsed what she wanted to say so many times, but now that the moment was here, the words felt tangled in her throat. The minutes stretched out, each second feeling like an eternity. Finally, the receptionist smiled and gestured for Nora to follow her. "Right this way," she said, leading Nora to a conference room at the end of the hall. As they approached, Nora's heart raced. She could see Althea through the glass walls, her silhouette framed against a backdrop of modern tech displays and vibrant brainstorming boards. Althea was in the middle of a discussion with her team, animated and engaged. Nora stood there for a moment, watching the woman who had once felt so distant. Althea looked vibrant and powerful, a stark contrast to the frail image Nora had held onto in her mind. "Althea?" the receptionist called, knocking gently on the glass. Althea turned, her expression shifting from concentration to surprise as she spotted Nora. Nora swallowed hard as Althea approached the door and opened it. The moment their eyes met, a heavy silence enveloped them. "Nora," Althea said, her voice steady but laced with a hint of uncertainty. "What are you doing here?" "I came to talk," Nora replied, her voice barely above a whisper. The weight of the past hung between them, unspoken but palpable. Althea crossed her arms, her posture defensive. "I'm busy. I don't think there's anything to discuss." Nora felt the sting of rejection, but pressed on. "Please, just give me a moment. I know I hurt you, and I want to apologize. I've had time to think about everything." Althea studied her for a moment, her eyes narrowing slightly. "Hurt me? You threw me out of your home, Nora. You made it clear that I was no longer welcome in your life." Nora flinched at the rawness in Althea's words, but she took a step forward, vulnerability shining in her eyes. "I was selfish and scared. I thought getting rid of you would fix my problems, but it only made things worse. I miss you. The kids miss you." A flicker of surprise crossed Althea's face, but she quickly masked it with a stoic expression. "You didn't seem to care about that when you kicked me out. What's changed?" Nora took a deep breath, her heart racing. "I realized that I was trying to build a life based on appearances and status, and I lost sight of what truly matters. I was wrong to think that I could do it all alone without your wisdom and support. I need you, Althea. I want to make things right." Althea's expression softened, but her guard was still up. "You think an apology can erase what happened? Trust doesn't come back overnight, Nora." "I know," Nora replied, her voice trembling with emotion. "But I'm willing to work for it. I want to earn your trust back. I'm ready to listen and learn. Can we at least try?" Althea studied her for what felt like an eternity, her brow furrowed in contemplation. "You've hurt me deeply, but I can see that you're trying. I'll give you that. But what happens if you decide to push me away again? This is a big risk for me." Nora nodded, tears pricking at the corners of her eyes. "I understand. I'm not asking for a miracle. I just want a chance to show you that I can be better. I can be the daughter-in-law you deserve." After a long pause, Althea took a step back, letting the door swing open wider. "All right, come in. We can talk, but I can't promise you anything more than that." Nora felt a surge of relief as she stepped inside the conference room. The atmosphere was filled with creativity and innovation, something she had once taken for granted in her own life. She sat down, keenly aware of the weight of the moment. "Thank you," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Althea settled into the chair opposite her, crossing her arms once more. "So, tell me what you've been thinking." Nora took a deep breath, her mind racing with the words she wanted to say. "I've been reflecting a lot on my choices and how I've treated others. I realize now that I've been so focused on success and maintaining this image of perfection that I pushed away the people who truly matter. I neglected the importance of family, of connection." Althea nodded slowly, her expression softening further. "It's easy to get lost in that world, Nora. I've been there. But you have to remember that success without the people you love is hollow. It's the relationships that give life meaning." Nora's heart ached at the truth in Althea's words. "I want to learn from you. I know I can't change the past, but I'm ready to grow and be a better person, for myself and for my family." Althea met her gaze, the tension in the room beginning to dissipate. "It's a long road, Nora. Trust takes time to rebuild. Are you prepared for that?" "I am," Nora affirmed, feeling a newfound determination swell within her. "I want to support you in your work too. I've seen how strong you are How capable. I want to be part of that. The corners of Althea's mouth twitched slightly, a hint of a smile breaking through her otherwise serious demeanor. You might be surprised at how much you can learn. It's a different world out there, one that I've only recently begun to navigate myself. Breath. Nora leaned forward, the urgency of her conviction propelling her words. I want to partner with you on your new project. I see the potential in what you're doing, and I believe that together we can create something incredible. I can bring my experience in business, and you bring your vision and expertise in technology. Althea's eyebrows shot up in surprise. You want to work with me? After everything that happened? Yes, Nora affirmed, her voice resolute. I know it might seem insincere, but I see how passionate you are about this new venture. I've watched you transform from a neglected mother into a respected leader, and I admire that. I want to learn from you. I want to support you. Althea crossed her arms, clearly weighing Nora's words. It's not that simple, Nora. Trust doesn't come easily after what you did. I'm not sure I can just forget everything. I don't expect you to, Nora replied, her heart racing. But I'm willing to earn your trust back. This isn't just about business. It's about healing our relationship. I believe we both have something valuable to offer. Althea considered Nora's proposal, her expression thoughtful. What exactly do you envision us working on together? Nora felt a spark of excitement. I've been following the trends in tech, and I know there's a growing market for user-friendly applications that cater to older adults. We could create something that not only empowers them, but also bridges the gap between generations. Your knowledge and my business acumen could really make a difference. Althea's eyes lit up with interest, but she quickly masked it with skepticism. And what makes you think you can handle this alongside your family commitments? You've already proven that you can be. Self-absorbed. Nora winced at the truth in Althea's words. I know I have a lot to prove, and I'm ready to make it work. This isn't just about me anymore. I want to be a better mother and daughter. I want to show my kids that family matters, that we can learn from each other. Althea leaned back, her expression inscrutable. It's a big commitment, Nora. Are you ready to face the challenges that come with it? The late nights, the disagreements, the pressure to succeed? I am, Nora said, feeling a sense of determination surge within her. I'm ready to face any challenge if it means rebuilding what we've lost. I want to work with you, Althea. I want to prove that I can be a partner you can rely on. For the first time, Althea's demeanor softened. You've changed, Nora. I can see that. But it will take time to rebuild our relationship, and I won't take any half measures. If we do this, we do it right. Nora nodded vigorously. I understand. I'm committed to this, to you and to our family. Let's create something that honors our legacy. Althea smiled, a glimmer of the warmth that Nora had missed for so long. All right, let's explore this idea further. But know this, Nora, I won't compromise on values or family. If we're going to work together, it has to be rooted in respect and understanding. Nora felt a wave of relief wash over her. I promise I'll respect our relationship and our goals. I want to learn from you, not just as a business partner, but as a mother and a family member. As they delved deeper into their conversation, sharing ideas and aspirations, Nora felt a sense of hope blooming inside her. The tension that had once defined their relationship began to dissipate, replaced by a shared vision of what could be. They mapped out their ideas, with Althea guiding Nora through the intricacies of the tech world, her passion sparking Nora's own creativity. In that moment, Nora realized that this partnership was more than just a business venture. It was an opportunity for healing, growth, and reconnection. She knew the path ahead wouldn't be easy, but for the first time in a long while, she felt a glimmer of optimism. They were embarking on a journey together, one that could redefine not only their professional lives, but their familial bond as well. As they wrapped up their meeting, Nora felt a weight lift from her shoulders. She had taken the first step towards reconciliation, and while the road ahead was uncertain, She was ready to embrace the challenges that lay ahead. Together, they could create a legacy that honored their past while forging a new future, one rooted in understanding, respect, and love. As lights dimmed in the expansive conference room and the murmurs of the audience faded into a hush, Nora Lindholm sat in the front row, her heart racing with anticipation and a hint of dread. The air was thick with tension as she watched her mother-in-law, Althea, take the stage. The older woman, once a figure of disdain in Nora's eyes, now radiated a quiet strength that Nora couldn't help but admire. Dressed in a tailored suit that accentuated her composure, Althea adjusted the microphone with a steady hand and fixed her gaze on the audience. "Thank you all for being here today," Althea began, her voice clear and commanding. "Today, I want to share not just a project, but a journey of resilience, family, and the power of forgiveness." Nora's breath caught in her throat. Althea's words struck a chord deep within her, and she felt an unfamiliar warmth spread through her chest. She had witnessed the transformation of this woman, once dismissed as a burden, into a formidable leader. Althea spoke passionately about the tech startup she had founded, emphasizing the importance of collaboration and community. But it was the personal anecdotes that resonated the most. "Every challenge I faced with the support of my family," Althea continued, her eyes scanning the audience. "And every setback taught me the value of understanding and compassion. My relationship with my daughter-in-law, Nora, was strained, but it has been a catalyst for my growth." Nora felt her heart sink and swell simultaneously. She could sense the vulnerability in Althea's words, and the admission of their past struggles made her own heartache surface. She remembered the petty arguments, the dismissive comments, and the painful decision to expel Althea from her home. Did the audience know the truth behind their relationship? Althea's voice broke slightly as she added, "It is through our differences that we find our strengths." I stand here today not just as a businesswoman, but as a mother and a grandmother who believes in the power of healing. As Althea concluded her speech, the audience erupted into applause. Nora felt a swirl of emotions, a mix of pride, shame, and a desire to reconcile. In that moment, she realized how much she had underestimated Althea and how much she had been missing out on by letting pride dictate her relationships. As Althea stepped down from the podium, Nora caught her gaze. There it was, the flicker of recognition, of shared history, the unspoken bond that had been strained but not broken. Althea approached her, a soft smile gracing her lips, but it was laced with an uncertainty that made Nora's heart ache. "Nora," Althea said, her voice low, "thank you for being here. I didn't expect to see you in the audience." "I almost didn't come," Nora confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. "But I needed to hear what you had to say. You were incredible up there." Althea's smile widened, but it was tinged with something deeper. "I spoke from the heart. I hope it resonated with you." "It did," Nora admitted, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I've been reflecting a lot on my choices, on how I treated you. I was wrong to push you away. I let my insecurities cloud my judgment." Althea reached out, placing a hand on Nora's shoulder. "We all make mistakes, Nora. What matters is how we choose to move forward." Before they could delve deeper into their conversation, a familiar voice cut through the moment like a knife. "Althea!" Both women turned to see a man in a tailored suit, understanding and forgiveness that would guide them forward together.